Wearing goggles at night. What could go wrong? So I just finished my first playthrough of Mankind Divided, and I'll say this, any game that the first thing they show you before credits is, yo, sucker, you got some fucking New Game Plus coming at ya, gets extra points with me, as far as I'm concerned. New Game Plus is of the most paramount fucking importance. The sooner and the quicker you let me know about that shit, the better I feel about things. It is gonna take a little bit for, like, my final thoughts to kind of coalesce about the game, though, because, I don't know, that ending was a little bit of a letdown. I mean, like, it wasn't even necessarily a bad ending. It wasn't Human Revolution's ending, where you just press a button and boom, here's an FMV of Jensen going, yeah, I feel really good about making the choice I made there. I feel like that was the right choice to make. And to be fair, like, the original Deus Ex had kind of disappointing endings too. But you know what the original Deus Ex and Human Revolution didn't have? Sequel hooks. That's what this ending was. It was a big fat old sequel hook. It was like, hey guys, you want to learn the answers to these questions? Better buy the sequel, or more likely, I don't know, DLC or something like that. Isn't it such a shame that we live in that age where it's like, oh fuck you, here's like, gotta wait for the DLC. I mean, on the one hand, you know, I'm forced to speculate because it's like,
changing venues with magical editing because it's too fucking dark outside. Way darker than I thought. Like, when you're just holding the phone up, it looks bright enough, but then I pressed record and it's like fucking pitch black. Isn't that great? Anyway, you know, the ending is really very, like, very sequel hooky, but, like, all I can really do is speculate, because in the director's cut for Human Revolution, they talk extensively about how they kept during development, they were very pressed for time, and they had to make a lot of cuts and do a lot of cut a lot of corners in order to, you know, get the game out the door. And as a consequence of that, they had to leave certain story threads hanging. Like, they never really resolved Megan Reed's storyline and Adam's relationship with her. And they didn't really resolve things with Frank Pritchard and et cetera, et cetera. And I bet they were kind of wishing, like, I wish we could go back and kind of finish those storylines and do a little bit more with the gameplay than we were kind of able to at the end of the day. And so part of me feels like they ran into the same problem where they, you know, were running low on budget. They were cutting pretty close to the deadlines. So they were like, you know what? Man, Human Revolution was really good. Well, a lot of people really liked it, so we got some clout here. And it's Deus Ex, so it's probably going to sell really well no matter what. And, you know, this ain't a bad game, I think, at least, when you step back and look at it. So, here's what we can do, team. Let's just release the game, and then after, like, it's out of our hands, we can start working on some of the stuff we didn't have time to get around to with the main game and release it as DLC, tying things up. And maybe even, eventually, there'll be a Mankind Divided director's cut somewhere down the line, too. And this team, like, I feel sort of, you know, I feel like I know this team now, you know, based on those creative commentary from the first game. I don't know, I don't want to assume that they had the ending already done and decided to rip it out to sell later as DLC, like, from the get-go. Or like, maybe the corporate suits were like, nah, take that out, and then sell it later so we can milk more money from this. We already got the microtransactions, got to get even more out there. I want to believe that they, you know, they took advantage of this generation being what it is, having the capability for them to just be able to go, you know what, we can release that as DLC later instead of having to compromise on the main product. Let's put a pin on that and come back to it after the game is released. I want to believe that that is the case. I want to believe that they are right now working on ending DLC or something like that, and that will be released later because it's not finished yet. And they wanted to take the time and money that they could afford themselves by just releasing this product in order to give them more time to wrap those elements up to uh, a degree that they could be satisfied with. I want to believe that's true, but right now all we have is the game that's right in front of us, and the game that's right in front of us ends with a fucking sequel hook and leaves so many plot threads unresolved, and it fucking pisses me off. Like, that's not okay to do. Never assume that you're gonna get a sequel. Always assume that what you make, is the last thing that will ever be made, because otherwise it's just going to leave people going, what the fuck? I can't, like, pray, remember, like, I can't, like, I remember Prey in particular because Prey 2 got fucking fucked over and shit canned, and now it's being rebooted by Arcane, which is really disappointing. And that original Prey 1 ended with Prey will continue. Come back to Prey 2. Like, games that literally end with come back next time, buy the sequel. Like, literally the words on the screen say buy the sequel. Never get a sequel. Those storylines go unresolved. Fuck you. Assume that this is the last game that you're ever going to get to make, and just finish everything off right then and there. Say what you want about Human Revolution, but it did that. It assumed that Human Revolution was the first and last, and it said, you know what? Boom. Every single ending is a definitive conclusion to this story. Some things didn't get wrapped up. Some branches had to be kind of, left to just not get a satisfying conclusion, but the narrative in general got finished. Like Jensen fucking found out the secret to Panchaea and was like, put the kibosh on the fucking Illuminati plan of the biochip and all that shit, and found out what the deal with Megan Reed was. And even that, it resolved what Megan Reed was going to do, and it was implied that she went on to create the Grey Death that was in the original game. This game, like, it's just really fucking weird and kind of dumb how much gets unresolved. Like the Diwali family civil war. Just if you did all the side quests, which I did, they were building up to a really big, kind of shakeup in the crime family. And I get that if you weren't doing the side quests, it would be, I don't know, like, it felt like they could have done two scenarios where the scene where you drop in on the boss and his right-hand man and they're saying, gotta send the poison out. I feel like they could have checked a flag to see if you had done the side quests up until that point, and you could have walked in and had some kind of confrontation because you were buddy-buddy with the second in command, and can be like, hey, I'm calling in that favor, fuck you, deal with this situation. That could have, like, played out a little bit differently, I don't know, but as it was, you find all these breadcrumbs talking about how there's this civil war going on between them, and Otor is, like, trying to really set things up to take out the boss and become the new head honcho. He even sends out a fucking email that's like, yo, I'm in charge now, and then you show up, at the home base, and they're just having a meeting talking about how they're sending the poison out for the Illuminati's plan, and there's no resolution to that. Even the death of a major side character, like the little Dr. Buddy, doesn't get any resolution, and won't get any resolution if you don't take the, initiative to go investigate his lab, like I did, and you find him fucking dead. Like, the story does, like, there's, that totally gets dropped. You could finish the game and not even know that he died because it's hard to wander around the open world with things under martial law. Like, who's gonna try and take the, like, risk trying to get to that location through all the police activity and find him there? And you go down through the front entrance, and the front entrance is blocked off, so you have to remember how to get through the back entrance and get in that way. And you get in there and you find him and he's in his chair and he's fucking dead, and it says he had a deal. Like, there's a message scrawled on his chest. Like, you can kind of imagine the scene playing out where he's like, no, we had a deal, bang, I guess he had a deal, you're dead now. And then you look on his computer and there's a fucking email from Otor saying, I fucking killed that guy and I'm gonna take over the crime family now, fuck all of you. Like, you would think that would be part of a side quest. You would think that, you would get involved somehow in that final confrontation. Something would lead you to that lab to discover this as part of a side mission or something. No, it's basically an Easter egg. It just seems fucking weird and dumb that it ends kind of like in your, like, kind of the end, brick wall ending, and then the epilogue is literally Adam Jensen and his partner going, I'm gonna go do some shit in the sequel. You gonna go do some shit in the sequel? Don't worry, I'll support you, man. I'm gonna go do some shit in the sequel. Yeah, people better go buy that sequel if they really want to find out the answers to these questions. Yeah, man, I'm gonna go buy the sequel. Credits roll. Stinger. Oh shit! It was the fucking Colonel in the fucking, like, foyer with the lead pipe the whole time. Oh, he's gonna go meet with Janice. Oh, that means the plan's in place. Oh. Like, fuck. Buy the DLC, buy the ending DLC, buy the sequel. Fuck you. There's no, like, you gotta tie it up, man. You gotta tie it up and assume that you're not gonna have the liberty to do a sequel, to do a DLC, because you never know what's gonna happen, and you're just gonna piss off fans who are sitting there like, this is an unsatisfying conclusion to this narrative. And it's really disappointing because this is something I've talked about before. Endings are important. Endings are quite possibly the most important thing, period, in any fiction or media whatsoever. I said this about BoJack Horseman Season 3. I thought BoJack Horseman Season 3 was kind of a letdown. A lot of other people did too. I looked that up, actually. And a big part of that was its ending. Its last scene is kind of confusing and doesn't really make sense when you watch it. You're kind of like, is that supposed to be significant? Is that supposed to mean something to me? And then cuts to credits, and it's like, what? I don't know, like, what am I supposed to feel? Like, you're just left confused, and that's a bad feeling to end your fucking narrative on. And that one is particularly egregious because it's like, if you had cut 30 seconds earlier, that would have been a great fucking ending. But no, like, and it doesn't matter how good the piece of media was up until that point, because the ending is the last thing that's going to be left in the viewer's head. The last thing the viewer experienced was this ending, and the ending colors their feelings towards the entire product. Their last impression is based on the last thing they see on screen, and if the last thing they see on screen is a disappointment, it poorly reflects on the rest of the product. Like, the last thing they're going to think is, oh, that was kind of a letdown. It doesn't matter how good the entire rest of the thing leading up to that point was, the last thing that's on their mind is, meh. And if the last thing they think is meh, then that's what they think about your fucking game. They think meh about your entire fucking game based on the last thing they saw. And it is kind of a letdown because it sucks to say that because the rest of the game was fucking fantastic. And that final boss fight was really good. I mean, I kind of cheesed it. I mean, if you watch me do that boss fight, it's not great. Because here's what I did. I turned invisible, ran up, shot him with a stun gun, and then did an instant takedown. The end. Beat the boss fight. Like, whoa, SpaghettiOs! Oh man, it almost feels like they wanted to have that be able to be concluded with like a dialogue speech battle. Like, hey, let's have, if you have the Casey mod, you can have a fucking debate with the guy and try and talk him down. But then someone in the room raised their hand and said, "We haven't had a single boss fight this entire game." What are you talking about? There are plenty of boss fights. Yeah, but you could literally talk down every single one of them. So if you had the Casey mod, you could have talked your way out of every single boss fight and not had a single boss fight this entire game. And everyone kind of looked around and went, oh. So they scrapped that and said, okay, here's the fucking only boss fight in the entire fucking game. But they fixed the problem of it's sort of a combination of the regular boss fights that were like farmed out by another company in Human Revolution and the boss fight in Missing Link, because as I said, I was able to cheese it by just running up and shooting him with a stun gun and punching him, because the final boss is basically just an armored enemy, like an exosuit police dude or whatever, and if you don't know, if you haven't experimented, that can be kind of tricky to deal with, because you go up and you try and do the instant takedown and it doesn't work. If you shoot them with a stun gun, they're stunned for a couple seconds, but then they get back into the fight. If it's kind of your first time encountering them, or if you tried both of your standbys and thought, oh, this doesn't work, I'm just going to avoid them, and didn't think to experiment the way I did, because I kind of like to break video games, you know how I am, you know how I be, you know how I roll, you know how I vibe. I did discover that if you shoot an exoskeleton, like an exosuit cop, with the stun gun, and then hit the instant, he becomes vulnerable to the instant takedown, you can instant take him down. And same thing with that final boss. You can just, boop, invisibility, run up, shoot him with a stun gun, the end. It's over. And to be fair, I also got the ending where I did everything perfectly. Yeah, because I really liked this, actually. There's like a final choice, and I was kind of amping up for this to be kind of a disappointment. Like, I saved, and I was like, ooh, gotta like go back because I want to see both endings, because earlier on in the game you're presented with this choice of, you can either go find out who this bomb maker is, or you can go rob a bank. And that's a or B situation. You can do this, or you can do this, and that is it. Want to do the other one? Replay the game, or something to that degree. And at the time, I was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna do the bank heist, because bank heists are the best fucking part of any video game ever. Why does no one made a fucking game that's just bank heists?" And I don't mean fucking what's that game called? Payoff? No. The game where you're bank robbers, where you're like, the opening of like The Dark Knight, where the clown masks rob the bank. Payoff? What the fuck's that game called? Anyway, I'm sure you've heard of it. The game where you wear masks and rob a bank. I want a game that's like Catwoman or Sam Fisher, kind of fucking cat burglaring their way into a bank or a museum or something like that. I don't want fucking, heist. We have that. It's good that we have that, but I want, a cat burglar game. And that was a really fun mission. And you broke into this vault and you found all these Easter eggs and found all these hidden story breadcrumbs talking about different shit that, like, ooh, here's what Megan's doing, and ooh, here's, what happened to Bell Tower. Oh, they became this other company, like they liquidated the assets and rebranded. Ooh, what's up with Taeyong Medical? Oh my gosh, look, here are all the blueprints to all the new augmentations in this game. How did, like, what? All this nifty stuff. And the fucking, like, story breadcrumbs in this game are really fantastic. The world building is truly impressive. But anyway, like, the point of that was, like, you can do one or the other, and doing the find the person who made the bomb thing seemed like it had no value to me whatsoever, so I didn't bother with that. So you get to the ending, and it's like, go save the politicians who are going to stop the bad political thing from happening, or go fight the guy with the bomb who's gonna blow up buildings full of innocent people. So you think, okay, I have to choose one or the other. Thing was, I was kind of beasting all up in this club, and I got to save the politician people so fast that I had time to go back and stop the fucking bomb guy. Because he's like, you only have time for one, motherfucker. And so I fucking Speedy Gonzalez my way through, and I managed to do both. And it was fucking funny as shit. Because I saved the delegates, and I was like, okay, now blow up the building. Oh, fuck! And I just ran and made it back to where the bomb dude was, and I was like, yeah, sucker! I'm here. And he's like, oh, we only need to kill a handful of people, and it is good that you have chosen to let them die so that I don't have to kill all of these people. And in the back of my head, I'm going like, that was really fucking cool. That was very Missing Link. Where, you have to save these prisoners or the scientists. You can't save both. Ah, shit, you saved both. What the fuck? And I was very happy with that, especially since they set it up earlier to make you think that it's an either or, but then it turns out you can do both. Like, that was a good bait and switch, where they're like, here's this earlier choice. You can do one or the other, and that kind of makes you think, okay, that's the way this works. And then it turns out, nah, man, nah, sucker, this is Deus Ex, motherfucker, what you gonna do? And it's like, oh, shit. So that was really cool. But because I did the save everyone ending, I'm also thinking, like, man, that final boss fight would have been even more cool if he did blow up the buildings. Because you're in this building high-rise, and it's like the ending of fucking Fight Club, where you're looking out at the other buildings, and you're gonna fucking press the button, and it's like, Jensen, you met me at a very strange point in my life. The Pixies start playing. With your feet on your head and your hair in the fuck. With your feet on your head and your head on the ground. Try this trick. Spit. Yeah. Your head will collapse because there's nothing in it, and you ask yourself, where's my mind? Where's my mind? Where is my mind? That would have been cool. That would have been cool if to go to that final boss fight framed by two blown up burning buildings in the background while you're fucking fighting this guy, and Jensen takes him out and he's like, it's over, and he walks towards the big fucking window and it's just fucking thousands of people are fucking dead. And it's like, what choices have I made? I bet there's a fucking ending where you can save neither. I bet there's one where you can let the politicians die and let him blow up both the buildings. Oh my fucking god, that would be the best. That would be the best ending. Fuck everyone gets to burn. Aw, dude. Okay, I'm starting to turn around on this fucking ending because that final choice and boss fight was so fucking good, man. Like, I can see like how they might be like, okay, there's so many variations, like so many different characters could be dead or could not be dead, and there's so many different choices we need to take into account here that, you know what, give us a fucking couple of months to write and voice act for different scenarios here. But like, literally the final line is, hey man, we gotta go find out the real answers behind it. Like, fucking the most sequel hooky shit ever. There was a different way you could have done that. There was a way you could have resolved it to be satisfying and be like, okay, like, story over. Have a little bit of a fucking stinger at the end of the credits. You know what? That's what they could have done. They had that stinger at the end of the credits where they're like, he's gonna meet Janice soon. Then the secret Illuminati programming we put into his head will kick in and the kill switch will activate and he'll kill Janice for us. Or whatever the fuck that scene was supposed to be. That's my interpretation of it. Like, you could have had that, and that would have been your sequel hook. Just like the after credit scene in Human Revolution was supposed to be the lead in to the original Deus Ex, because they didn't know they were going to get to make a sequel. They didn't know. They wrote that game as if that was the end. That was the conclusion of their input on the Deus Ex series. But now with this, I think, they got a little bit, overconfident and think, well, of course we're going to get to do sequels. Of course we're going to get to do DLC. I don't know. I think there was a way they could have done that final scene between Jensen and his buddy to be like, story resolved. Like, hooray, we did the thing, and now we're done. Like, our lives are going to continue from here, and whatever come what may, we'll have to deal with it. But at least we figured out what the deal with Orchard is. We can start, like, we get the collective can start making fucking antidotes. We're finding out who Bob Page and Manderley is, and that leads into the first game. You don't need to have that be an unresolved thing for this series. That can be like hey, remember these two characters from the original game? Here's our lead into the original game. Because those two characters and those two threads tie into the original game. You want to know what happens with them, go play that. And, I don't know. They could have had it be a satisfying conclusion that wasn't literally just, yo, go buy the sequel, we're gonna go buy the sequel. Because that just leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Again, like, that's the final fucking thing you see as a player, and so that's what informs your thoughts. Like, if you let people sit there and stew on their final impression of the game, that's what their final impression of the game is going to be. You have to kind of stir a little bit of a conversation to get them to remember, oh yeah, all this other cool shit happened. I didn't remember all that cool shit because that fucking ending was so terrible. And it wasn't even necessarily a bad ending. Again, I can think of excuses as to why they would have done it. But they also could have concluded things a lot better to be a lot more satisfying and a lot less of a blatant fucking sequel hook. I don't know. Kind of conflicted. Like, you didn't have to literally end with go buy the sequel. But everything else was really good. I thought, the final choice and all that was really good. Final boss fight was really good. Yeah, I'm gonna buy the DLC whenever it comes out, whatever it is. I'm invested. And geez, man, this game's really fantastic. Like, they improved over Human Revolution to so, like, it really is Human Revolution plus plus. But by that same token, it also loses a couple of the, like, when you play a game and it's like, there's a little bit of jank on this, there's a little bit of stank on there, but it's charming, and the jank is part of the charm. You think like, oh, this is a flaw, but it wouldn't be as good without that flaw. The flaw is part of what makes it good. It's kind of like the most pressing example would probably be Metal Gear Solid 3. Because that game's incredibly flawed and it's incredibly jank. But that's part of what makes it so good. And if you try to improve it, you'll lose a little bit of that. Like, there was that 3DS remake that added the fucking MGS4 over-the-shoulder shooting controls, and that was an objective improvement. Game is not as good for its conclusion. I'm sure I could think of another example of, like, a game where the original game had so much charm and so much, like, oh yeah, this makes it really unique and this makes it really special. You're playing it and you're like, yeah, I'm getting really invested in this. And then the sequel comes around and it's like, oh, you fixed it, but now it's a little bit less what made it so good in the first place. Like, you sandpapered down the edges, but those rough edges is part of what made it what it was. And so now it's less what it is for lacking those. Even though it is objectively better to have it be a little bit more smooth and sandpapered down, That's a little bit what this feels like. It feels a little bit like they sandpapered down the edges, and I'm like, I miss the edges. I really like those edges. It's lost a little bit of that charm, even though it is an objective improvement. It's one of those weird ephemeral kind of like intangible things where it's really hard to fucking describe, but you know it when you see it. It's like pornography. I can't give you a definition, but I like, that's fucking pornography. But at the end of the day, it's Human Revolution, but better. They fucking polished up the flaws and they improved on what was already good. There's still a couple things that are like really superficial and kind of unnecessary. Like, I don't know, half of those augmentations seem like you don't need them in there. Like, my favorite one is always the like better aiming and recoil compensation fucking augmentations, because who in their right mind is going to pick that? Even like running gunny, shooty, blowy uppy players aren't going to pick that. It's not like, it's not necessary, because this game isn't an RPG. It's a first-person shooter with RPG elements, and that's the crucial difference. Because in the original Deus Ex, like, that's part of what made it so good, is if you didn't put any points of training into your weapons categories, you would fucking suck. Like, you could point a fucking handgun into someone's fucking mouth and pull the trigger and fucking miss because you didn't put any points into your fucking handgun training. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Play that opening level, like downgrade your handgun training. Go put a fucking gun in someone's mouth and pull the trigger and watch it fucking miss. It's bullshit. But like, that's what made it so good. It was an RPG from the first-person perspective. This game, it's a first-person RPG. I think Zero Punctuation nailed the crucial difference, where it's like, in a first-person RPG, you're just adding like modifiers on top of a gun that you essentially already know how to use. Like, you're saying, oh, let's make this even more efficient at shooting and killing people, when, guys, it's a gun. Like, how much more fucking efficient do you need to be? Oh, you killed them in 1.5 shots instead of 2 shots this time. I ended this fucking game with 100 fucking stun gun bullets. Gunplay is not fucking important unless you just really suck at stealth. I literally ended this game with 100 bullets of stun gun ammunition, because that's the only gun I used. And I ended with like 50 little Tesla like taser fisty shots, which I really started relying on because they can knock out multiple guys at once. And that's really because, like, normally I try to ghost through an environment without knocking out anyone, but during that final sequence, that final level, I really did feel like I gotta knock everyone out. Gotta fucking leave a trail of bodies, of unconscious bodies in my wake here. Zip zap, motherfuckers. But like, it's going to take me a little while to digest my thoughts. Oh my god, it's going to take me a little while to digest my thoughts properly, like to form a real kind of final conclusionary outlook. Because I just beat it right now. Like credits just finished rolling. I got the pacifist achievement, didn't get the foxiest of hounds achievement because of bullshit. Fuck you. Really bullshit. I looked it up because it was so bullshit. During this one mission, it's like, hey, call this person or call this person. And if you call one of those people, it's gonna trigger an alarm, and there's no fucking signposting. And I had already saved over. Like, there's an auto save, and it's like, who do you want to call? And there's no option to, like, you have to save before you open the door that triggers the sequence. And then when the sequence is triggered, first thing you do is pick a choice, who do you want to call. And if you call the wrong person, it's going to trigger an alert, and it's unavoidable, and there's nothing you can do. And it happens like way later on. It doesn't trigger it immediately. It's like you got to get through this first big open section, and when you get to the second section, that's when the alert gets triggered. That's bullshit. Fuck you. And it's not made at all apparent that that decision is what caused it. I thought my game was bugged. I had to look it up online, and people have kind of sort of agreed that that is what causes it. If you choose to call the other person instead, that won't happen. Really fucking soured me, because I was going for a foxiest of hounds fucking playthrough, and I was doing it, no alarms being triggered. Like, I was being obsessive compulsive about it. Like, even if a fucking camera saw me, I fucking reloaded my save and did it more perfectly. I couldn't let anyone see me, didn't want the alert to get triggered. But then that final, like, that choice and my save game, like, you got, like, I wish console games had a fucking quick save button, man. That would solve so many problems. Like, you really gotta fucking, like, manual save. Like, what I do is I save over, and I have one save file. And I save over it, and then I'm, fucking committed to that one save file. No, man, you gotta fucking manual save, like, different slots, like, save 1, save 2, save 3, save 4, save 50. Thank God for this game actually having that and not being reliant on checkpoint systems and autosaves. Thank God it's an actual PC fucking RPG where you can fucking save as much as you want, and it's all manual saving. So you have to get into that habit of saving every couple of rooms by yourself, otherwise you're going to lose progress. Don't rely on the autosaves. But hey, if you're like me and you do one save file, guess what? You just fuck yourself over for calling your fucking boss instead of your fucking hack. To call your boss to tell the helicopter dude to come pick you up instead of calling your hacker buddy who does not know your fucking pilot buddy. How the fuck is they gonna tell them? Ugh. It seemed like an obvious choice at the time, but apparently it fucked me over, so no Foxy achievement for me. Really pisses me off. But I did get Pacifist. So, there's my cred. There's my fucking cred. And now that I have Pacifist on record, time to let the bodies hit the floor, motherfucker. Anyway. Yeah, gonna take me a little bit to digest my thoughts on this. Gonna sit on this for a few days, maybe even beat it 1 or 2 more times, and then I feel like I'll be able to come out with a definitive, here are my final thoughts on the game, like score, yeah, initial immediate ending impressions is good fucking game. I mean, what do you want? Like Human Revolution, but a little bit better, but also kind of in a little bit of ways, but an objective improvement over Human Revolution. And I fucking love the shit out of Human Revolution for all its flaws. So, like, whatever score you would give Human Revolution, add on a number on top of that, because that's how I feel about Mankind Divided. It's 1 score better than Human Revolution. So if you thought Human Revolution was a 10, it was not a 10. Like, no. Human Revolution was not a 10 at all. Maybe an 8. A strong 8. So yeah, Mankind Divides a 9, I guess. Maybe it's also an 8? I don't know. I'm gonna need time. Okay, I'll get back to you later. Shit, it's gonna be so long until I upload this, because I don't want to upload it until after I upload my Foxy Plays Mankind Divided, that opening section, and I don't want to upload that until after I finish the Human Revolution playthrough, and I don't want to upload that until after I finish Batman. I actually have a video log here. I think I can go, like, if I stick to a 1 video a day upload, I have an entire month to just chill out and not have to worry here about my self-imposed, like, oh, who am I fucking obligated to, right? Anyway. Good game. Fucking Fox. I'm so mad about missing out my... You know how I feel about foxes, man. It says Foxiest of Hounds. That's a fucking Metal Gear reference and a Fox reference in one. You know I needed that shit and you fucked me. God damn it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I never asked for this.